Hello and welcome to the immune response for anatomy and physiology class. To the right over here I have two different immune systems, well not immune systems but types of immunity. We have humoral immunity and cell-mediated immunity. This is just kind of the overall picture of the immune system. Antigen is short for antibody mediated, so a lock and key system is active. So in any type of antigen, antibody that's working around there, if it fits into a B cell, it causes the B cell to clone itself and create more antibodies that can bind to the antigens and kill the cell, kill the bad thing. Cell-mediated immunity, here you've got your T cell. It has antigen again, but it's viral protein on the infected cell that triggers it, and it's a lock and key. So it'll clone the T cells as well so that they can attack the infected cell. It's actually a really efficient system. So what is the immune system? The immune system is a group of cells, tissues, organs, and mechanisms that defend an organism against pathogens. Pathogens are disease-causing organisms, and it helps with other foreign substances. So an immune system is a complex series of specific and non-specific processes involving a range of cells and chemicals. Here's just a picture showing you some of the white blood cells involved in the immune system. If the body is successful in fighting the infection, it will respond more quickly and effectively if the same pathogen is encountered. So, if you caught the flu, takes a couple weeks for your body to ramp up to really get a good, really good handle on fighting the flu. If you caught that exact same version of the flu, your body within just a day or two would be ramped up and fighting that flu virus. The one issue here is that if it's a different form, your body may recognize it but not put up a huge fight because it's not quite the same, so it'll take longer to react and to realize that. Alrighty, so how does the body respond to an antigen? So you have your antigen above the skin or mucous membrane. You have your lysozyme. So lysozyme kills anything, in this case on the surface of the skin or the mucous membrane. Antigen causes an immune response. A specific immune response leads to both T cells and B cells being activated. A non-specific immune response is inflammation, interferons, phagocytosis, that type of thing, real basic. So here's a little more detail. Non-specific immune response. The non-specific or innate immune response quickly targets things, foreign substances, pathogens. It uses phagocytosis, so a phage is an eater, a destroyer. Cytosis is cells, so big, a cell eater. Inflammation, it'll kick in with inflammation. And antimicrobial proteins such as lysozyme and interferons are part of this. Lysozymes, well, we'll talk about those in a second. Lysozyme is an enzyme that disrupts the cell wall, so it lyses, it pokes them, it pierces them. And it works on gram-positive bacteria, which you should have learned about in biology. And it digests the peptidoglycan. Lysozymes are found in tears, saliva, and then lysosomes that carry them around. So the lysozyme, if you look at the ending YME, or ZYME, it's an enzyme. So it's lysozyme and it's found in lysosomes. Interferons are proteins produced by virus-infected body cells in response to the virus. There's a bunch of different kinds of interferons, but basically they trigger the production of a second protein that will inhibit any viral replication. It binds to the messenger RNA coded by the virus. That's the little M is messenger. RNA is the ribonucleic acid. DNA is copied into several different forms of RNA, kind of goes through this chain. And so in this case, it affects the messenger RNA that the virus has said, hey, why don't you print it this way instead? What happens during inflammation? So inflammation itself is a response to injury or infection. You get a swelling, redness, it gets hot, it can be painful. Inflammation helps reduce damage and destroy pathogens because it causes a quick reaction. However, if an acute inflammation persists for a while, like something under the skin causes it to just constantly being inflamed, or you're constantly dealing with that particular type of inflammation, you can have what's called chronic inflammation, which involves different cells of the immune system. You can have tissue damage while also attempting to heal the tissue, so the body doesn't quite know what to do. Chronic inflammation can occur due to a range of infectious and autoimmune diseases. So you've got tuberculosis, which affects the lungs, inflammatory bowel disease, IBS is what you see on TV, or Crohn's disease, or ulcerative colitis. You've seen all of those on TV, I'm sure, in the commercials. And rheumatoid arthritis, as well as exposure to chemical substances such as silica. So in the old days, you used to have this white silky stuff that you would put under, at Christmas time you put under, it was like for snow, so you could put it under nativity scenes, under models, Christmas towns, all that type of thing. Well, those were little slivers of glass, fiberglass. And you get one of those really thin and they'd get in your skin and they would just stay there and irritate and irritate and irritate till you got it out. So something like that could cause chronic inflammation if you couldn't find it and you left it in there. And then rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease, so it's constantly attacking those joints. So the specific immune response, also called the adaptive immune response, targets specific pathogens, but it is slower than the non-specific because it is specific. It attacks, it has to form reactions to certain ones. Okay, so the cellular or cell-mediated response of the specific immune response system involves highly specialized cells that target pathogens inside the cell. And then the humoral or antibody-mediated response targets pathogens in body fluids with antibodies. So then we've got lymphocytes. They're a type of white blood cell called a leukocyte, found in blood and lymph nodes. They recognize antigens. Okay, so these are a type of white blood cell. They recognize antigens on the surface of a pathogen and they coordinate the immune response. Collectively, lymphocytes can recognize millions of different antigens due to the variety of lymphocytes produced. So we don't just produce one type and then say, here, go and be everything to everyone. We produce a variety of these so that somewhere along the line, one of them is bound to catch things that are, going wrong. All right, so here's some types of lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are the type of white blood cell, like I said, found in the blood, produced by some stem cells and bone marrow. Two main types are T cells, B cells. T cells mature in the thymus gland, and B cells mature in the bone marrow. All right, helper T cells. These cells act as coordinators of the immune response. So when a pathogen is detected, you've got the helper T cells that produce a chemical signal. And it causes cytotoxic T cells and the effector B cells to activate. Okay, and it also helps produce memory cells. The effector B cells, these cells will give rise to what are called plasma cells. Again, activation by the helper T cells. Some effector B cells will become memory cells. Those are the ones that remember things for years and years and years. Like when you get a vaccine, it's those memory B cells that help us mount up a defense against that. Cytotoxic T cells recognize infected cells or tumor cells. They secrete a protein that ruptures the membrane, causing the cell to lyse or break open. plasma cell. These cells will develop from your effector B cells, and they also, like we said before, have been activated by helper T. Plasma cells will produce large amounts of energy. Large amounts of antibodies, which bind to the pathogen and cause it to be destroyed or inactivated. And then your memory cells, they circulate in the blood, and if they're stimulated by matching, kind of lock and key system that the body loves to use for a variety of things to make sure it's correct, they will divide and rapidly produce a secondary immune response.